Hey guys, welcome back to the Return of Goldilocks, the Road to 513. I have a little bit different of a show for you today. I have an informative show for you today. As you know, normally I am talking about my progression in climbing, my training on this road that I've chosen to go down to climb 513. But as I mentioned in my first episode, that I am also interested in exploring climbing culture and what that looks like today versus 10, 20, 30 years ago even. So, which leads me to my question for the day. When you have a core climbing company and they sell out to a major corporation, does that move ultimately cost them more than the sale price? Let's explore. So, I would say 6 months or so ago, I bought this pair of 510 Grandstone climbing shoes. And I was looking for just something like a good all day shoe that was comfortable, a little stiffer, because I like to climb cracks sometimes. Anyway, I bought these at Neptune Mountaineering. I worked there, as I've said many times on the show, for years and years and years, and I like that store. So that's where I buy most of my climbing stuff. Anyway, these probably went to the climbing gym with me maybe 4 times in the first few months that I had them. And I took them outside one day and I noticed this split in the rand of the right shoe. So I'll bring it up here to the camera. It's right there. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'll take them into Neptune, see what they can do for me. Years ago, when I did work at Neptune's, part of my role there was climbing hard goods buyer. If I would have had this shoe returned to me when I was in that position, I probably would have just replaced the customer out of stock if we had it. If we didn't, I would have just given them a store credit and then contacted 510 and had them credit us in our account and send us another pair of this shoe for our shelves. They didn't do that. They wanted to send the shoes back to, they told me 510 Adidas. And that's when I kind of remembered, I was like, oh yeah, there was like 510 was purchased years ago by, I knew a major company, but I didn't know who it was. So they took my information, took my shoes, sent them back to Adidas, and we awaited a decision. So a few weeks later, I got an email from Neptune Mountaineering warranty department saying that 510 decided that that was normal wear and tear on the shoe and that they were not going to do anything for me. They just suggested that I get a resole. Again, $180 pair of shoes to fix this rand. It's that one. To fix this rand, they have to resole the whole shoe. So you're looking at probably $130 for the resole. It's not normal wear and tear. That's definitely not normal wear and tear on the shoe, especially a few months in. I've got this pair of Scarpa climbing shoes. I was a Scarpa rep for years too, so I should have just stayed loyal to this brand. I am back with this brand now, but this pair is probably 6 years old and no resoles yet, no rand damage. I mean, sweet pair of climbing shoes still. And, you know, I've been a 510 guy for years. Like when I first started climbing back in the early 90s, 510's all I wore. I mean, they were your big three choices, right? It was like Scarpa, La Sportiva, 510, Boreal, I guess, big four. My first pair of climbing shoes was 510 Summits. My second pair was 510 Lynx. I've had many pair of Anasazi lace-up, Velcro, some moccasins. I've definitely supported the brand and never been let down. Like they always have made a good quality shoe over the years. And yeah, always been happy with 510. But then I did some research, you know, on this Adidas acquisition thing. And I found out that, yes, 510 was indeed purchased by Adidas in 2011 for the cost of $25 million. And then I kind of explore what, you know, like what the aftermath of that acquisition was, like what ensued over the past, or the following, what are we at, 14 years since that purchase took place now. So when they went to close down the factory in California, because they were going to move all production to Adidas facility, which is mostly in Asia. There's a couple of them. Well, they're all in Asia, but then mostly Vietnam, I guess. they closed the California factory. Most of the employees went on to start their own company called Unparallel, which I have purchased a pair of them from them as well. This their version of the 510 Moccasin, good classic slipper climbing shoe. Had these for probably about 4 years. Again, nothing like super solid, no ran damage, no issues with manufacturing. All this is clean. And again, this was basically made by 510, the same people that were making these before Adidas got a hold of them, made these great quality pair of climbing shoes. So once they moved there, quality just went downhill for sure. And so I think that's where the issue is here, where they should have probably warranted those shoes. Clearly, I'm not like dragging my toes or anything like that. None of these shoes have any ran damage with the exception of this one, which again occurred like 3 months into owning them. And then another thing that eventually happened is a lot of their athletes bailed out of the program. They kind of felt like, and I think it's very true, they kind of felt like with the sellout 510, was no longer a core company. Adidas was barely even interested in keeping the 510 climbing part of it. They were mostly bought the Adidas for the rubber, the Stealth C4 rubber. And they were going to use that rubber to further their outdoor sub-brand Terex, and then they like the 510 like mountain biking models and stuff like that. So that was their priority. So again, a lot of their sponsored athletes dropped off the program, went to other people like Las Sportivas, Scarpa, stuff like that. There's a small airport near me, and sometimes it's like crazy. I got to wait for all these planes to go by. That thing just sounded like a 1971 Dodge Dart with wings. It was like, I think it needs a muffler. Do planes have mufflers? I don't know. Anyway, another thing that kind of ensued after the acquisition was that a lot of retailers, like specialty retailers like Neptune Mountaineering and all those other stores across the country, just like them, said that Adidas was kind of hard to work with. They didn't really have very, very good stock with most of their climbing shoe brand, models, stuff like that. So it was just, stuff was falling through the cracks, and it was clear. So to kind of circle back to the original question, when a core climbing brand sells out to a major corporation, does that ultimately cost them more than the purchase price that they got for their company? I don't know. $25 million, a lot of cheddar for sure. But at the end of the day, you've got 510 brand, which was at one time a leading climbing shoe brand in the climbing culture, the climbing industry, the climbing world. And now they're barely on the map. I don't see them on people's feet when we're climbing outdoors. I don't see them on people's feet when I'm climbing in the gym. I do see them on their feet when I'm at the dirt jumps or whatever, like a lot of people do, like the 510 mountain biking shoes. But I think as a core climbing brand, that's a done deal. And I think 510 will ultimately join the ranks of the other, shoes that were available back in the day. Do you remember Fee-Rays? Do you remember EBs? And now you can add 510 to that list. So they definitely killed their reputation. They killed the brand. I don't know. Maybe they're just chilling, enjoying their 25 mil, but that's my show for the day. I do want to encourage you guys for the comments today. There could be, have you had a similar experience with 510, or have you had a similar experience with any other climbing shoe manufacturer or climbing gear manufacturer at all, for that matter? And also, have you had the other side of the experience where you did have a manufacturer issue with a pair of climbing shoes or climbing gear in general, and that manufacturer, that company went out of their way to make you happy and make it right, and give you your money's worth and let you enjoy the product that you purchased with your hard-earned money? Anyway, yes, please drop on the comments. I would love, love, love to hear your comments on this guy today. And as always, like, subscribe, follow, share, all that stuff helps me tremendously. Thanks so much for joining in, and I'll see you on the next one.